Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, August the 16th. Coming to you from Lika, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And of course, we are going to talk about the Trump-Putin summit in Alaska. We just finished a live stream on the Duran, me and Alexander, and we broke it all down. The good, the bad, and the ugly as far as the Trump-Alaska summit. Good for Putin, good for Trump, bad for Zelensky, ugly for the Europeans. That's how it broke down. But look, everyone knows what happened. I'm sure everyone followed the summit, or everyone has seen the reports and the video clips from the summit. About a 3-hour-long meeting between the United States and Russia, between Putin and Trump. They get along really well. It's obvious that the two leaders get along. Putin even rode with Trump in the Beast. He even rode in Trump's limo. And that was interesting to watch. It shows that Putin trusts Trump. It was a gesture of trust from Putin towards Trump, and also a kind gesture from Trump to invite Putin to ride with him. So the reports after the summit, both leaders met. Then they gave short statements. I believe Putin spoke for about 6 to 7 minutes. Trump spoke for about 4 to 5 minutes. They didn't take any questions from the media, and rightly so, because the collective West media, they were acting like a bunch of jackals, man. The minute Putin sat down with Trump in the beginning of the meeting, the two leaders sit down, and what do the reporters start asking Putin? They start talking to Putin about bombing civilians and asking Trump, can Putin be trusted this time around? What are you guys talking about? Who broke Minsk 1 and Minsk 2? It wasn't Russia and it wasn't Putin. But anyway, the reporters, they started off in a very bad way, and so I think the right decision was made to not take questions from the collective West reporters, because their goal was to try and poison the meetings, to try and sabotage the diplomacy that was underway. So they gave their statements, each leader. Trump said it was a good meeting, a 10 out of 10. He said there was one point that was not agreed on. In general, was a point that they both disagreed on. I believe that had to do with security guarantees. But in general, he said it was a 10 out of 10. And Putin also said it was a good meeting. He said it was a good meeting. Putin did not concede anything. It's very windy out here. He did not concede anything when it comes to Russia's interests in Istanbul Plus or anything like that. He actually said in his statement that it's all about root causes, getting to the root causes. Russia's not interested in a ceasefire. We're okay with security guarantees, of course. There have to be security guarantees granted to Ukraine. That's what Putin said. But right after that, he said that what it's really about is getting to the root causes of the conflict, why it happened, and taking Russia's interests and security into consideration. And not only Russia's interests and security, into consideration, but also Europe's and the world's. And then Putin said that he hopes the Europeans do not sabotage these negotiations, this process that is underway. He actually said that. He actually said, I hope the Europeans do not sabotage this process. Quite a statement from the Russian president, huh? Russia is interested in putting an end to the Ukrainian crisis. We hope that the understandings reached with the President of the United States will open the way to peace in Ukraine. We expect neither Kiev nor Europe will obstruct the peace process. And then Putin said in English, next time in Moscow. That's what he said. And then Trump was like, oh boy, I could get in big trouble for taking a meeting in Moscow. He was joking around, Trump. But there's going to be a meeting in Russia. There's going to be a meeting in Russia. And who knows, maybe that's where the collective West and where Zelensky will sign the root causes Istanbul Plus capitulation agreement. Putin was very careful to say that the meeting was about reaching an understanding. He said the two leaders had reached an understanding, not an agreement. He said an understanding. And when Trump gave an interview to Hannity after the event wrapped up, Trump gave an interview to Fox News to Hannity, and Hannity asked him what should Ukraine do in light of the good meetings that have taken place and the fact that you guys have come to an understanding. Trump said that Zelensky should take the deal, take whatever deal they finally agree to, and Zelensky should take it. That is what Trump said. When asked what advice he would give Zelensky, Trump replied, make the deal, adding that he believes that Putin wants to see it done. It's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit, the US president added. What an amazing accomplishment from Russia, huh? They get to the meeting with Trump, they get the face-to-face with the United States, they present their case to the United States, and Trump comes out of the meeting saying that it is now up to Ukraine and the Europeans who were sidelined from this entire process. Man, sidelined from the whole thing, the Europeans and the UK, completely out of the picture, as was Ukraine, of course. A bilateral negotiation between the United States and Russia. So we have some breaking news as to what is going to take place next. And it looks like we are going for a comprehensive end to the conflict, a comprehensive deal and peace to the conflict in Ukraine. After the meeting, Trump got on the phone with Zelensky and with the Europeans and with NATO. And the reports are that he spoke to the Europeans and to Zelensky for most of his a lot of waves here on this beach. He spoke to the Europeans and Zelensky for most of his trip back to DC. And the reports are that he even didn't get off the plane. The plane had landed and he was still not getting off the plane because he was still speaking to Zelensky. Axios is saying that this was a very difficult call. And Trump, according to Axios, according to their sources, Trump basically told the Europeans and Zelensky, the coalition of the willing, Trump told the coalition of the willing that it's about getting a deal, not about a ceasefire. Russia is not seeking a ceasefire, but a comprehensive agreement to end the war. That is a direct quote from one of Axios' sources. And then Trump, according to the source, told Zelensky and the Europeans, I think a fast peace deal is better than a ceasefire. I think a fast peace deal is better than a ceasefire. A comprehensive peace deal, it's Istanbul Plus. Its root causes, June 2024, Istanbul Plus. There may be some small maybe changes, maybe you could say changes, maybe some small delays in the implementation of Istanbul Plus. Maybe it will be rolled out step by step. But the general framework is Istanbul plus senator. Better move a little out from here. Those waves got my phone. A little bit of the phone. So yeah, that's what Trump is basically signaling. He actually posted on Truth Social, a great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Putin of Russia went very well, as did a late night phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine and various European leaders, including the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. It was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelensky will be coming to DC, the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially millions of people's lives will be saved. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Zelensky on his way to DC on Monday. I hope he is going to dress up properly this time around and not wear his green sweatshirt. Podolyak. Do I still have any suits, or did I give those away? Did I sell those on eBay? Mr. President, I think you sold those all on eBay. Oh my God, Podolyak, I need to buy a suit. Yeah, so remember last time Zelensky was at the White House? It did not go well. Very difficult call for Zelensky, according to Axios, a very difficult call. Trump said that he spoke to the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. That's a good joke. The highly respected Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte. The CEO of NATO, Mark Rutte. Highly respected by who exactly? Who highly respects Mark Rutte? I don't know. Anyway, an agreement, an end to the conflict, a comprehensive agreement to end the war, not a ceasefire. So you know what I think happened, and we talked about this on the Duran. I think that that Putin and his delegation, they sat down with Trump, Kellogg not being there, Lindsey Graham not being there, all of the people that have been sabotaging and poisoning the rapprochement between the United States and Russia. They were not allowed to attend this summit, and that was a good thing. So Trump and Witkoff and Vance, Hegseth was actually there as well. I didn't mention that yesterday. He wasn't supposed to be at the meeting, but he actually came to the meeting last minute. But Hegseth was there, and Rubio, and Bessent, and Putin, and his team, Lavrov, and Ushakov, Belousov, and Nabulina, everybody on the Kremlin team. They sat down and they told Trump, look, here's the real deal. Forget about the ridiculous propaganda that is coming out of Ukraine, Europe, and the UK. Forget about what some parts of your administration are saying, some parts of the Pentagon, what they're reporting. It's all nonsense. You know it, and we know it. The military situation, and that's what drives everything. I don't think we'd be at this place, at this moment in time, if the military situation wasn't so catastrophic for Ukraine, NATO, and the collective West. They are about to suffer a very bad, humiliating defeat at the hands of the Russian military. We're talking all of NATO and the collective West is about to be comprehensively defeated in the Donbass and in Ukraine. And that's what's driving all of this. And so I think the Russians just laid it all out there. They probably talked about the attrition that Ukraine is suffering. They talked about the situation in Pokrovsk and on the front lines and all of the equipment that has been destroyed and the demilitarization that Ukraine has undergone in the entirety of the collective West. And then they probably talked to the Trump administration about how sanctions are completely failing. They have failed. They probably educated Besant on the real state of the Russian economy and why sanctions will never succeed. I'm sure they talked about the unity of BRICS and how the sanctions against BRICS has also failed. And Trump listened, and I think there were three options left to the Trump administration. Either accept Istanbul Plus, tell Zelensky and the Europeans to accept Istanbul Plus. It is without a doubt the best deal they are going to get, and it is still on the table from June 2024. That deal is still there. They're not going to get a better deal. Things are just going to get a lot worse if they don't take Istanbul Plus. That's option number one. You get them to agree to Istanbul Plus. President Trump, we say that you mediated the whole thing. You get your Nobel Peace Prize. Russia and the United States start doing business. All is good. That's option number one. Option number two is that Trump presents Istanbul Plus to Zelensky and the Europeans, and they turn it down. They reject it, and they tell Trump to buzz off, and they say they're going to continue the conflict with Russia, and then Trump has an opportunity to completely walk away from this thing. Or option number three, Trump flip-flops and relapses back into the Kellogg, Lindsey Graham, neocon mindset, and they approve $55 billion to Ukraine, and they approve weapons to Ukraine, weapons that they don't have. And the result is the same. Ukraine loses, NATO loses. Get your ice cream, everybody. Get your ice cream. NATO loses, the US loses. The loss of the conflict is pinned squarely on Trump. He's blamed for the catastrophic loss. And there you have it. I think those options were presented to the Trump administration. They understood the situation. And it looks like they're going with option number one. They're going to call Zelensky in, and they're going to tell Zelensky, you're going to sign Istanbul Plus. Got it? Zelensky said, all the details regarding the end of the killings and the end of the war, I plan to discuss with President Trump in Washington on Monday. I'm grateful for the invitation. The Telegraph is already reporting that, one second, that the Europeans are dropping their ceasefire terms. The Europeans, they've been saying that there can be no negotiations, no talking with Russia. There can be nothing until there's an unconditional ceasefire. It looks like the Europeans have already dropped that, according to the Telegraph. U.S. offers Ukraine NATO-style security guarantee. That's an interesting title from the Telegraph. Now, keep in mind, this may look like a concession from Putin, a huge concession, but keep in mind we're talking about the UK Telegraph, and I'm sure they want to try to spin this as some sort of concession. I am 1,000% positive that if there were to be any security guarantees given to Ukraine, Russia would be a guarantor. I would imagine that Russia and a BRICS country would be a guarantor, as well as, say, the United States and a collective West country. There is no way that Ukraine is going to have security guarantees without Russia and BRICS also being guarantors. Never going to happen. And there's going to be some sort of a pledge that Ukraine never enters NATO. I imagine the pledge is going to be in some sort of a form, not even a pledge. I mean, this is going to be written in stone, right? Maybe even passed by the Security Council. I don't know how they're going to do this legally, but I imagine it's going to be in the form of the United States saying that they will never, ever, ever allow Ukraine to enter NATO. Forget about NATO, the organization NATO. I would bet that the United States is going to pass something that says the United States will never allow Ukraine to enter NATO. Now, how rock solid is that? I don't know. It depends how it's done legally, but I'm sure there's ways to legally make this thing airtight. But the Telegraph is reporting that the Europeans are starting to drop their demand for a ceasefire. That is what the Telegraph is saying. Yeah, so amazing developments, huh? A win for Russia, without a doubt. If they do indeed get Istanbul Plus, it is a big win, and that looks like that is what they're going to at least present to Zelensky and the Europeans, and then it's up to Zelensky and the Europeans. And that's a huge win right there, the fact that Trump and the United States is saying, you know what, we're going to present the understanding that we came to with Russia, we're going to present it to Zelensky and the Europeans, and it's now up to them. That's a huge win for Putin and for Trump. You know, if Trump takes the option of pressing for Istanbul Plus, demanding Istanbul Plus, and if he doesn't get it, then the United States completely walks away. That's a win for Trump. If he decides to go the route of Kellogg and Lindsey Graham, which is not out of the question, you never know. The neocons may speak to Trump. Kellogg may speak to Trump, and they may tell Trump, under no circumstances are you going to enter into an agreement with Russia. Under no circumstances are you going to accept Istanbul Plus. Who knows? It's possible. We'll have a better understanding Monday when the Green Goblin comes to America. Coming to America, starring Volodymyr Zelensky, also starring Podolyak and Sean Penn as Yermak. Anyway, let's see what else. What else do we have to report? Putin at the statements at the event, at the end of the event, where they both read their prepared statements. Putin told everyone in attendance that the war would never have started if Trump was president. And then, according to Trump, as he was speaking with Hannity, he said that Putin had told him that the 2020 elections were rigged. And if they weren't rigged, then Trump would have won those elections. And then we would have never had this conflict. So, I mean, this is exactly what Trump wanted to hear, man. It's exactly what he wanted to hear. Biden's war would have never happened if you were president. 2020 was rigged, and Trump was just like, we got a deal, Russia. We got a deal. Now just give me the Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm super duper uber happy. Putin diplomacy, huh? So that's everything. That is everything. There was no Minsk 3. It looks like Russia stuck to Istanbul Plus, June 2024. Root causes. They didn't concede anything. And that's where we're heading towards. Monday will be a very interesting day. I imagine that Zelensky's going to resist, and he's going to cry and whine and complain. But eventually, what can Zelensky do? Especially if the Europeans start backing Trump's position. And the Europeans are going to complain, and they're going to whine, but what can they do? They have no cards. The Europeans have no cards. Ukraine has no cards. They've lost the war. Orban has said they've lost the war. Even UK media is saying that Ukraine lost the war. And Alexander said that as the articles are coming out saying that Russia has won the war, there are UK citizens who have not been watching the Duran, and they've been watching Sky News and all of these types of propaganda publications, and they were under the impression that Ukraine was winning, and now they're shocked to all of a sudden learn that Russia has won this thing. How did this happen? They're saying, you were telling me that Russia was losing. That's what you guys were telling me. For 3+ years, you were saying Russia's losing, their economy's in tatters. The BBC was saying that Russia is using shovels. And Vandermath was talking about washing machine chips, powering up the tanks and fighter jets. And Putin has suffered 48 heart attacks. And now all of a sudden, UK media, you're writing articles saying that Russia has won this war? They got completely duped, man. Completely duped. Sinister, though. It was very sinister, because the purpose of the propaganda and the purpose of lying to European citizens and American citizens about the conflict and the fact that Ukraine might win, or Ukraine can win, or Russia's in a bad state. The purpose of all that lying was very sinister and very evil, because its purpose was to get the citizens of the collective West to continue to support the conflict against Russia, and that led to hundreds of thousands of lives being lost on the front lines, maybe millions of lives being lost on the front lines. It was a very sinister propaganda campaign by the collective West, and they knew what they were doing. They knew that they had to put out the fiction of Ukraine having a chance to win this conflict, because that was the only way that the collective West countries could get buy-in from their citizens. And all the money that was sent to Ukraine, citizens would have never supported everything that has happened over the past 3 years if the collective West media did honest reporting and said that Ukraine has zero chance of winning this conflict. So I think that's everything. I don't have anything else to report. Lasting settlement essential in Ukraine conflict. Putin said all of the root causes of the hostilities must be addressed for a sustainable resolution to be achieved, the Russian president said. There you have it. That's exactly what Putin said. So Putin went to a memorial for Russian soldiers, fallen Russian soldiers, and he knelt down at the graves of these Russian soldiers in Alaska, and he laid flowers, a bouquet of flowers, on each of the graves of the Russian soldiers, every single one. Putin laid down, he bent down on his knee, and he laid down flowers alongside every single tombstone of the Russian fallen soldiers. He thanked the United States and the people of Alaska for taking such good care of the memorial, of the site of the Russian fallen soldiers. And in front of every single grave, the Orthodox cross. And people ask, every single one, like every single site of a Russian fallen soldier, Putin put flowers and he crossed it himself. And people ask, why do the globalists hate Putin so much? Why do they despise Putin so much? That video from Alaska answers that question. Completely answers that question. Why they despise Putin so much. Just watch that video. Next time someone asks, why do they hate Putin? Why do they despise him? Just show them that video, and that answers the question. So that's everything. I think I will end this video, get to a clown world, and start to wrap up this video. There are rumors. This is coming from The Economist, the UK media. Don't believe the UK media until everything's confirmed, everybody. But The Economist is saying that they agreed to some sort of an air ceasefire as a gesture of goodwill. Maybe, but I think if they agreed to some sort of an air ceasefire, they would have announced it during the summit. But even if they did agree to something like that, like say a 30-day ceasefire via air, from the air, Russia's agreed to that in the past, and Ukraine broke that ceasefire. So it's not something unusual. It's not something that hasn't happened before. But anyway, those are the rumors coming from the Economist this time. Medved, he posted on Telegram 5 summary points of the summit from Alaska. He said, a full-fledged mechanism for meetings between Russia and the United States at the highest level has been restored. calm without ultimatums or threats. Point number 2, the president of Russia personally and in detail presented to the president of the USA our conditions for ending the conflict in Ukraine. Point number 2 says it all. What did I say earlier in the video? What I thought about how this whole thing played out? Point number 2 basically confirms that from Medvedev. The Russian team and the Russian delegation, they laid out, they presented the situation to the United States and to Trump's team. Face to face, they presented the situation, and there was no other choice. There was no other choice other than Istanbul Plus. Point number 3 from Medvedev, following an almost 3-hour conversation, the head of the White House refused to escalate pressure on Russia, at least for now. Point number 4, important, the meeting proved that negotiations are possible without preconditions and simultaneously with the continuation of the special military operation. Very important point from Medvedev. And point number 5, the main point, both sides directly placed responsibility for achieving future results in negotiations on ending military actions on Kiev and Europe. The ball is now in Kiev and Europe's court, right? They love that phrase. The ball is now in Russia's court. The ball is now in Putin's court. Well, Medvedev is saying the ball is now in NATO, Ukraine, and Europe's court. Don't mess it up. So Trump revealed before the meeting in Alaska that he had spoken to Lukashenko. He posted on Truth Social, "I had a wonderful talk with the highly respected president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko. The purpose of the call was to thank him for the release of 16 prisoners. We are also discussing the release of 1,300 additional prisoners. Our conversation was a very good one. We discussed many topics, including President Putin's visit to Alaska. I look forward to meeting President Lukashenko in the future. Thank you for your attention to this matter." The highly respected president of Belarus. Now that I believe, the highly respected leader of NATO. That one I don't believe. The highly respected leader of Belarus. That is Trump trolling the Europeans in a big, big way. Oh man, can you imagine Ursula reading this statement? Ursula and Tikhanovskaya, Juan Guaido #2, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, sitting down with Kaya Kallas and Ursula, and they're reading this Truth Social post from Trump. Oh man, I would love to be there in that room as those three read the statement from Trump, the highly respected president of Belarus. Yeah, they were consulting with Lukashenko. There was a lot of diplomacy taking place over the past 6 months. That's how it looks. Even though Trump went on his Keith Kellogg, Lindsey Graham adventure, he went on that misadventure, let's call it a misadventure. They tried everything. Nothing worked. Russia continued to win. Russia won, and eventually Trump had to see the light. But as Trump was going on his misadventure, it does look like Witkoff, especially Witkoff and Rubio, they kept the channels of communication open with Russia. That's how it looks. And Lukashenko looks like he played an important role in all of this. Who would have guessed that the wonder weapon, at the end of the day, the wonder weapon in all of this was Lukashenko. Wonder weapon, Lukashenko. Yeah, so Clown World, and we'll wrap this video up. Let's start with CNN. And they interviewed John Bolton, who said Trump did not lose, but Putin clearly won. Bolton reacts to Alaska summit. Yeah, the neocons are plenty mad. They're going to try and sabotage this. Let's hope that Trump remains strong. Let's hope he remains strong and committed to a peace agreement, Istanbul plus root causes. Let's hope that Trump holds firm, because the neocons are going to put a lot of pressure. I imagine the UK and the neocons, the Europeans, there are going to be many attempts to sabotage things. I imagine many false flags. That's the MI6 British Intel's specialty. Zelensky's going to try many false flags, because you're talking about Zelensky's own position, his own well-being. His position is at stake. The European collective West money, the washing machine, all of that is at stake now. So I think there's going to be a lot of sabotage efforts and a lot of false flags that are going to be tried. Let's hope it all fails. So anyway, that's Bolton. Trump did not lose, but Putin clearly won. Putin clearly won. I agree with that. And tomorrow we'll find out if Trump clearly won. Trump won. If you go by the statements that he made, saying that it's not about a ceasefire anymore, forget about a ceasefire, we need to get a deal, we need to go for a deal. If you go by those statements, and if Trump holds firm come tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday morning, then Trump is going to get a Nobel Peace Prize, right? Putin's going to nominate him. Putin's going to nominate him, yeah. Not my war, and 2020 election rigged, and Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. There you go. Trump got everything that he wanted out of this. Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. It was a good diplomatic effort from all sides. Let's be fair. It was a good diplomatic effort from all sides. But we're not there yet. We still have a lot of road ahead of us. We still have a lot of road ahead of us, and a lot of things can go wrong, so just keep that in mind. So John Brennan was interviewed. It's amazing that they still interview this guy. The former Obama CIA director was interviewed by MSNBC. Of course he was. And he started to talk about how Putin's a criminal and all of this stuff, war criminal and blah, 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 whatever. Brennan, coming from Brennan, okay. But Brennan then went on to say that Putin got into Trump's limo, into the Beast, and that Putin might have placed a bug in the limousine. He's like, I hope that Secret Service goes through the limousine and they look for any kind of Kremlin, KGB listening devices. That's Brennan. That's a CIA director saying this type of stupid stuff. That's how dumb Brennan was. He's saying this stuff on TV. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And before the meeting, you also had the UK Defense Secretary, John Healey. He said that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, is ready to consider UK boots on the ground. That's what he said. Whatever happens in Alaska, he said, the UK is ready to consider boots on the ground. Okay. Well, you know, we're ready to consider a lot of things. I think everyone watching this video is ready to consider all kinds of things. I'm ready to consider swimming all the way out there, right? Or I'm ready to consider running all the way down there. Or the UK is ready to consider boots on the moon. Of course, we're ready to consider it. We're ready to consider.
A big decision for any defence secretary and prime minister, but the prime minister has made clear that he's ready to consider putting UK boots on the ground in the circumstances of a negotiated peace. If we can play our part, as we're planning to do with many other nations, to reinforce the Ukrainians' ability in the medium term to be able to deter Russia in future for themselves.
Anyway, that's the video, everybody. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like the hat that I'm wearing in today's video update, or the shirt that I am wearing in today's video update. There's a link in the description box down below, and a 15% to 30% coupon on various items in the Duran store. Take care.